The environmental footprint of AI data centers rivals that of some of the largest countries in the world. That is according to a new report from the United Nations. It says that last year, global data centers used 448 trillion watt hours of electricity. That's more than all but 10 countries in the entire world. That electricity usage produced about 208 million tons of carbon dioxide. That's about the same amount that the country of Argentina emits. And producing all of that energy consumed about 4.5 trillion liters of water. That's what it takes, as Canada has announced its national AI strategy today. It outlines a push to scale up AI adoption and proposals for the building of large-scale data centers. I'm joined now by Kaveh Madani, a water scientist and director of the United Nations University Institute for Water, Environment and Health, and obviously had a big hand in this report. Kaveh, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
It's hard to wrap your head around a billion. It's even harder to wrap your head around a trillion. But the numbers in this report on the energy and water consumption, I mean, they're staggering. Well, what's the actual environmental impact of all of this usage?
Well, what we have shown in this report is indeed maybe just just the tip of the iceberg, because we're only talking about the environmental impacts that are caused by the energy use of AI. The problem that we have is that most people do not understand or appreciate the physical infrastructure that is behind the AI operations. And there are massive material supply chains, energy infrastructure, and also, of course, the AI infrastructure that should run and be functional for us to have our daily chats and fun with ChatGPT and other AI tools. And when you look at the numbers and the growth of this market, you just get frustrated, because that means that we're introducing new needs, new demand for energy use, that it would be associated with carbon emissions, use of water resources, for cooling, for producing critical minerals, for producing energy, and then also the use of land. So that means that in a world that we are talking about climate change, we are talking about land degradation, we are talking about water bankruptcy, at the same time we're adding more demand, more growth, and that would hurt us, because it would compromise decarbonization plans. It would compromise other sustainability strategies that we have. We cannot have it all together, and we have to make choices and deal with these trade-offs.
Yeah, it's an omnivore technology in terms of what it demands, right? And a lot of the data centers use gas for power and water for cooling, so it's not like it's even necessarily a hydro power option. And as you say, it could be the tip of the iceberg, because your projections is that the usage and the pollution will double by 2030, and that the data centers will account, it's a small percentage, but it's on a big base, 3% of the world's electricity use in just 4 years. I mean, what would that look like?
That might even sound small. 3% seems minimal, but if we reach that number, and we think still that's a conservative estimation, that if data centers were a country, we were talking about the sixth country in the world in terms of energy use, ahead of many of the industrial countries. And that is massive. Remember, when we talk about data centers, when we talk about AI, many people say that, oh, we are going to supply this through renewables. The question is not this, the question is whether that energy that would be produced to satisfy the power-hungry data centers could have been used elsewhere. Could we cut on use of gas, use of coal, and other unsustainable energy sources to satisfy our demand? The problem is that if we introduce new demand at the same time that we are adding more supply, then we are not making any progress, and that has been the case post-Paris Agreement.
It's interesting because, Canada, as you know, outlined its new national AI strategy today, and, it tries to put safeguards around this to take advantage of the economic opportunity to protect people from the various harms in the digital space. But when you look at the energy requirements, I wonder about the build-out. Like, we don't have all this surplus energy lying around waiting to power data centers that use 4 to 5 times the household power of Ottawa in a single year. In the places where this is happening, I mean, do the companies build this out, or is, because in a lot of cases in Canada, this is a public expense to build out generation and transmission. Like, who would bear the cost of the need to scale up the generation capabilities to power these centers?
That's, an important strategic national issue. One thing we have to understand here is that AI is not bad. AI is coming with a lot of benefits. It's affecting the quality of our lives. It's making improvements to many things, many sectors. So AI is not bad per se. The question is how we manage AI, how we manage growth. If we want to build data centers and create jobs through that, if we want to boost the economy, we have to also think about the consequences. At some point, we run out of water. We have already run out of water in Waterloo, for example. So the question is whether you're taking water and energy away from other things or not, and can you keep up with the growth? We know that in Canada we are having some challenges in the energy sector. Even right now, there are issues with meeting the expected increase in consumption. Now you're adding these facilities to the mix, creating additional problem. And then the question is whether is it the private sector that is going to benefit from this, or the people of Canada? Canada needs to develop its AI sector. Canada needs to make additional investments. Canada should make sure that it's not going to fall behind. Right now, US and China are at the top of the race. It's a shame that Canada, I can say that as someone living in Canada, that we are not there. We can make further progress, but at the same time, we have to think about like how we can keep everything together, because we can't simply have alpha farming and all sorts of urbanization plans in place and data centers and everything and the energy sector. So we cannot, at some point, we run out of resources, even if we are a country that has one of the was one of the largest, I would say, owners of the freshwater resources in the world. As we have seen in Saskatchewan, as we have seen in Alberta, we will face problems, and this is something to worry about, because the private sector is driving a lot of these investments, manufacturers, some of these even demand or scenarios of growth in many places around the world. Canada should have the right safeguards in place, as the Prime Minister mentioned it. It should be responsible development and responsible use of AI and sustainable development. Now, the definition of sustainability, it can be very vague, and we have to safeguard that.
So just as a quick final point, I mean, how do you mitigate against some of the negative consequences of all of that, as governments, local, municipal, wherever, have to deal with it? Or is it just possible, with all of the speculative capital and venture capital going into the sector to drive the growth, that it will be constrained just by the finite limits of access to water and access to electricity? I mean, how do you see it playing out between now and 2030 on that front?
So so one question is a question of siting. Where are you going to place the next data center? And if you're placing it somewhere, do you have enough grid capacity? Do you have enough water resources? Are you going to steal electricity and water and land from other uses and from other groups, indigenous communities, farmers, urban populations, different industries? So how would you provide those? Are you having also enough investments to increase the capacity of your grid? Are you making investments to make water use more efficient? Are you making enough investments to ensure that inflation is not hurting the low-income populations and so on? So it's the question of managing trade-offs. If we don't do that, yes, at some point physics would be setting the rules and we cannot expand, and by then normally the consequences are dire, because it's not the private sector and the rich who would lose. It's the most vulnerable communities within the society who has to pay the price, and the future generations who have to live with our rushed decisions for growth.
It is a big issue and a big challenge facing everybody on the planet. Kaveh Madani with the United Nations University Institute for Water, Environment and Health. We appreciate your insight and your time on this. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.